Hello, fellow seminar students. This is Seth. How are you? Oh wait, that doesn't work. Anyway, this is my Vietnam creative project, which I decided to make a video talking about my 2 weeks in the country. Instead of just going through the events of my trip lazily, first we did this, then we did this, and so on, I'm gonna go through some big things that I learned and took away from. Hope you enjoy. Going into Vietnam, which is part of a 9-week trip I did all around Southeast Asia this fall, I had a very limited knowledge of the country, which means, for an American, a rudimentary understanding of the war. I thought of Vietnam as a small and relatively poor country, yet in my time there, I grew to learn the advancements of the country, with bustling cities and big exports of coffee and rubber. Yet, I did still observe the lack of wealth and low quality of life that many Vietnamese unfortunately deal with, mostly in rural areas. I also noticed the desperation in merchants for tourist support, especially in Hoi An, where shop owners had piles and piles of products that went unsold. They would constantly plead with tourists to buy their goods and services, whether it be a pair of sandals or a massage. I felt an initial objection to all of this pandering toward me, but then I came to understand how important it was for them to sell all of their products, being a real matter of survival. I also had no knowledge of the country's history before the American War until going there, but came to learn about the revolution against French colonization at the Hoa Lo Prison Museum, where they imprisoned Vietnamese revolutionary figures, killing many. I also learned about the fight for women's rights and the symbolic nature of women in the country at the Women's Museum in Hanoi. These facts and ideas have been confirmed in this class in the discussions we have had. Vietnam has such a rich and layered history that it saddens me to know that it is really only known in the US for the war. I fell in love with the food in the country, whether it be pho at a restaurant in Hanoi, hot pot from the street, seafood right on the water, or the incredible banh mi sandwiches, of which I had many. I was always excited to try different yet delicious cuisines.
No seafoods. We have a baby tiger.
I also took away a beauty and peacefulness from the country that I had not anticipated. Trekking through the jungles, crossing Halong Bay, or even navigating the busy streets of Hanoi and Saigon, there was a grace to the locations and livelihood of the people that stayed with me long after leaving Vietnam. I felt a sense of serenity when I looked out into the expanses of the country, a near out-of-body experience, breathing in all the life and nature that was so different from my own and yet so fascinating. But yet, most significantly, I took away almost a completely different outlook on the American war in Vietnam than from when I had entered. In school, I was taught that the war was a mistake on the part of the U.S., but not much else beyond that. After leaving Vietnam, I now see the conflict as an atrocity of human life, mostly committed by the U.S., a chaotic conflict that the Americans should have stayed out of. Going to the War Remedies Museum recontextualized the war for me. Seeing the harrowing photos and the stories of innocent men, women, and children that were tortured or killed from soldiers or radiation poisoning affected me deeply. Visiting the Cu Chi tunnels and learning about how villagers would live in these tiny spaces for so long during the war changed my outlook on this conflict dramatically. As an American, it made me feel uncomfortable to be in the museum that day, especially to really learn about the truth of the war after arriving in the country. It was a guilt buried in my stomach, but one I knew I had no real control over. Yet the way the Vietnamese talked about the war, they seemed to have clearly moved on. They understood that the conflict was a generation ago and could put it to the side. On the whole, they did not possess an animosity for Americans, and I always was made to feel relaxed when talking to them. Yet another example of the incredible people in an incredible country that will make a lasting impression on me. Vietnam taught me and showed me things I never would have imagined. Some easy to grasp, some a little more difficult, but always beneficial. Anyway, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did enjoy it, hey, it's over now. So relax, buddy. Take care, and have a good one.